Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Today, inshallah, we're going to talk about Surah An-Nisa, which is Surah number 4 and verse 97. And this verse is applicable to a certain situation that happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, but applies to us today. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الذين توفاهم الملائكة ظالمي أنفسهم قالوا فيما كنتم قالوا كنا مستضعفين في الأرض قالوا ألم تكن أرض الله واسعة فتهاجروا فيها فأولئك مأواهم جهنم وساءت مصيرا. So when the angel sees the souls of those who have wronged themselves, asking them, scolding them, what do you think you were doing? That means being against the Muslims or not being with the disbelievers. They will reply, we were oppressed in the land. And the angels will respond, wasn't Allah's land or earth so spacious enough for you to emigrate? It is they who will have hell as their home. What an evil destination. So this is this verse came against or towards those who are hypocrites, who were at that time living in the Medina with the Prophet ﷺ, but they were the hypocrites. That means they were showing that they're Muslims, but they're inside they were not. And they happened to be in Mecca, and when the Battle of Badr happened, you know, the disbelievers sent the army to fight in Badr and against the Muslims. So they joined the disbelievers. They joined the people of Mecca against the people whom they supposed to belong to, which is the Muslims. And so some of them were killed during the Battle of Badr. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is narrating or relating to us what happened to those during the time of the death. That's why it says here, when the angel sees the souls taking their souls out of their bodies, that it means at the moment of death. Tawaffahum means at the time of death. Then the angel will say, what are you doing? You are fighting against what the Muslims, with the disbelievers. So their response, again, this is narrated to Allah, by Allah to us to help us learn. And they said, we were weak, we were oppressed. That means that we had no choice but to go with the people of Mecca. And the angels will respond, but the land of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was so wide, you can go and immigrate and leave to Medina. And that means that this is wrong, that they were oppressed, that they were weak and they could not do, that they had the choice, but they did the choice and go with the stronger. At that time, at the Battle of Badr, the winners were supposed to be the people of Mecca. They are, you know, several-fold higher numbers, I believe 3-fold higher than the people of Badr, of Muslims. They were much more prepared. It's like they were a super army against a very weak army. So they said they're going to crush them. You know, we'll be with the winners. Those are the hypocrites. But they got, you know, some of them got killed, and this is what happened to them. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, puts a exclusion or a criteria of exception. In the next verse says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إلا المستضعفين من الرجال والنساء والولدان لا يستطيعون حيلة ولا يهتدون سبيلا, except helpless men, women, and children who cannot afford a way out. That means they cannot immigrate, they can't leave. They are the ones who are, you know, the weak and the oppressed, not those who are hypocrites that are mentioned in the previous verse. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, it says, فأولئك عسى الله أن يعفو عنهم وكان الله عفوا غفورا. And it is Allah that could pardon them, for Allah is ever pardoning and forgiving. That is for those who are the weak of the men, women, and children. And then the other verse says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ومن يهاجر في سبيل الله يجد في الأرض مراغما كثيرا وسعة. And whoever immigrates in the sake of Allah, they will find challenges and difficulty, but they will also find openings, or they will find things that are resourceful and bountiful. That means whether it's rizq, whether it's good things. ومن يخرج من بيته مهاجرا إلى الله ورسوله ثم يدركه الموت. And whoever leaves their home towards Allah, migrating to the Prophet ﷺ. At that time, he was in the Medina, and he dies. فَقَدْ وَقَعَ أَجْرَهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ كَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. That his reward will be secured. That means he will be entered into the heaven, and anything that he has done will be forgiven because his intentions. And that is Allah's way of telling us what is applicable to us today. Somebody will say, well, that was unique to the people who were in Mecca and wanting to migrate to the Prophet ﷺ, but it applies today here. If we are in a place where we are oppressed, that we can't practice our faith, then it is obligatory to move and go into a place where we can practice our faith, where we have the freedom. And our immigration should be what? For the sake of Allah, because that is what he is saying, muhajirin ilallah, immigrating towards Allah. At that time, it was a physical immigration specifically to Al-Medina. Today, it is going anywhere that we feel that we will have our faith and practice and freedom, which is really what we have here in many cases. Whether you are in a Muslim country and feeling oppressed because Islam is persecuted, or you are prevented from doing your practice, which is a case in some Muslim countries, or if you are in a non-Muslim country and you feel like you are not allowed, like it happens in countries like Europe, in France, where you're not allowed to wear a hijab everywhere, or in some places you are not allowed to do prayer or whatever, then you have the obligation to move, except if you cannot. And there's an exception, and Allah knows who are, if you're a child or a weak person or somebody who has no resources to even go, then Allah may forgive them. Allah is forgiving. So these are some of the things that we have to take in mind. There's no excuse of saying, I wasn't allowed to pray, I couldn't find Muslim community, I couldn't find a masjid, or in my hometown there is no one who is a Muslim, and that is why I don't pray, or something of that sort. That is not an excuse. These verses are telling us, go and search, and that move. All of earth is Allah's earth. Allah is not in one location. Allah is not in just a Muslim country. Allah is not in Mecca and Medina. Allah is everywhere. And as long as one is, seeking that and traveling in the sake of Allah, then the intention here is really important. Because there is a hadith also, the Prophet ﷺ said, everyone will get what their intention is. So whoever is immigrating for the sake of of worldly things, desires, or for marriage or something of that sort, so he will get what they want from that worldly gains. And whoever is migrating for the sake of Allah, then he will get that reward for the sake of Allah. And that again applies at that time to the migration to the Medina, and it applies today to where we move for the sake of Allah versus not. So inshallah, we learn from this about intentions, about physically moving in cases where the situation is not allowing us to practice or even as simple as moving jobs, for example, if that job is not allowing me to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala required. So inshallah, we learn from this and apply it in our daily life and our worldly life in this life, inshallah, to benefit from it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.